Hey guys, welcome back to ArtosisCasts. Today we're going to be looking at a game between Best, one of the strongest Protoss for the last who even knows how many years. Seriously, it's been at least 16, 17 years where he's been one of the best Protoss in the world, and that's been without a single break in being one of the best Protoss in the world. Very, very impressive. One of the longest, maybe the longest as far as a top-ranked player goes. And his opponent over here, we have Sacsri, who is definitely one of the best Zergs out there. I think still undervalued. He is in ASL just about every single season. And oftentimes he's actually like one of the guys that can really make the big upsets. I really think that Sacsri is incredibly scary as a Zerg player. So we're on the map Apocalypse, a 3-player map. Should be a fun one. Don't really know who I favor here, honestly. I think it's easy to say Best is favored because he's just such like a legendary player and has better results than Sacsri. But like I mentioned, right, Sacsri is kind of like an undervalued Zerg pro. So I think it's actually a pretty close match between the two. Anyways, while we wait for this gateway to finish and some zealots to get pumped out and sent across the map, I want to thank you guys for checking out ArtosisCasts. Yeah, I hope that you are enjoying, and yeah, that's about it. I just really appreciate you guys. I definitely do still check those comments very regularly, still taking a look at what everyone likes and wants to see. And yeah, I know that CNSL is kind of over, and some people are like, oh, damn, that was so epic and so exciting. And yeah, we're back to ladder games, and we'll be here for a bit, but I do have some other stuff that'll be coming up, some fun matches as well. But yeah, I don't want to like tease those and then take 2 weeks to put them out, and then, you know, so it's just a very light tease. I won't tell you exactly what they are, but definitely some matches I think people are really going to like. Anyways, taking a look at this game, third hatch going to be going up for Sacsri up here. Obviously, we have some zealots on the way. First zealot already walking out across the map. And yeah, you know, just some scouting going on here from Best. You know, this map, Apocalypse, I think that just so much of it comes down to the high ground. That really is kind of the defining feature of this map, I would say. You know, obviously it's a 3-player map, so that's like something in and of itself. That, you know, 3-player maps really do play differently than 4-player maps or 2-player maps, like pretty drastically differently. But on this map, you know, the high ground is so important. If someone controls their opponent's high ground, it's very, very hard for someone to get out. Like, let's say that we have Hydra Lurker up here. It's really hard for Protoss to push up there, right? Likewise, if Protoss actually gets an army standing up here, it's like attacking up in that's very tough, right? Because storms are going to destroy you. You're going to have that low ground advantage, not full vision oftentimes, that type of thing. So anyways, we do have some Zerglings coming back. 3 zealots in the wall. So no big deal there. Looks like this probe taking some pretty heavy damage. I'm actually getting a little bit paranoid right here. I feel like I heard a sound effect that didn't happen in the game. I don't know what's going on with that. But maybe I'm just crazy. Anyways, we have a cannon coming up. And layer on the way here for Sacsri. Okay, so it looks like he'll probably go into Spire. Obviously, we've seen some other builds. Like you can, for instance, go into like Hydras and Overlord speed with a quick layer. Although when you see Zergling speed being upgraded, it basically always means that you're going to see the Spire come up, right? Like if you're going to go directly into Hydras, you don't necessarily need to get into that Zergling speed. Oh, I see what's going on. One of my cats is going absolutely insane right now. Sorry about that if you can hear that in the background. Oh my gosh. There's a trash bag with a bit of styrofoam in it. The cat is going wild. So sorry about that. Anyways, we do have the Hydralisk Den actually on the way. Now, that does not mean that it won't be a Spire still. And yeah, the Spire does get started. So there it is. Zerg Spire on the way. Back at Best's base, there are Corsairs being made. The Citadel coming up as well, +1. Secondary cannon, because he doesn't really have good information at the moment. All right, I think we've gotten the cat out of here. Sorry about that background noise. I was actually like, is there something wrong with my computer? Kind of distracted me a little bit there in the beginning. Oh, man. Really got to close my door when I'm doing things. Now, +1 air attacks is coming, and there's a Hydra on the way already. So what this looks like is it will probably just be some Scourge. I think that's what it's going to be, is just like 4 Scourge popping out into Hydralisks. But it could be one of these tricky things where you're trying to make him think that you're going Hydras, and you're actually not, right? Like we see a single Hydra here. When the Corsair comes by and the Hydra shoots it, you might look at that and say, oh, it's a Hydralisk build. When in actuality, it might end up being Mutas. See, a second Hydralisk. It's a little bit weird from Sacsri. Honestly, what I'm looking at here, like, making 2 Hydras this early on. Normally, when you go for the Spire, the Scourge will keep everything back, and you already have Zergling speed, so like you'll go the Hydras a little bit later. Yeah, there they are. There's the Mutas. So I think that the couple of Hydras that we've seen were kind of like a bait, kind of like trying to trick Best into thinking like, oh no, he's got some Hydras for defense here, so like maybe it's not going to be Mutalisks. Some Scourge being made as well. 5 Mutas going to be hatching pretty quickly. The Corsair is actually going over the eggs. He sees the Spire, and he knows that there is a second gas, so I think he might be catching on. Yeah, sees those Mutalisks, and he will turn around. The Muta's going to dive on these Corsairs immediately. Corsairs are not going to want to turn to fight. Like, if they did turn to fight here, and any Scourge came out, they would get absolutely wiped. So he's going to sacrifice 1 and run with the rest. You know, actually a pretty good game plan. We've seen this a bit. If you were watching the CNSL, I believe Miso we saw actually do some moves kind of similar to this, where you're trying to really mask which tech route you're actually going to commit into. Now, this isn't a huge committal, right? Like this is 5 Mutalisks, so it's enough to one-shot probes. You can get some damage, maybe force more Corsairs, and your opponent, of course, doesn't know exactly how many you're going to make, but we can tell here with the Hydra upgrades coming that he's not really planning on making many more, or any more Mutas even. So you see right now the Corsairs trying to be microed against these, but like, what was that? 6 probes going down? Very well done by Sacsri. Now, does not get the High Templars, doesn't even try. I think he wasn't looking there, because that looked like a good sniping situation. So, you know, it just runs away. We have 2 Archons being made. Now, this is going to be a mistake for Best. He thinks he's playing against Muta, and, well, I mean, he is to a certain degree, but you don't need 2 Archons against this. You actually, against the Mass Hydra that's being made right now, it's much more likely that you're going to need Psy Storm. So, while this could still be a good attack, this could be effective and successful, the Archons are not actually a very strong choice right now, I think. Now, you never know. He might come in and the Archons might help to make the difference. But if he doesn't do something substantial with this, he's going to be missing out on a lot of potential Psystorms that he would have had otherwise. Now, pretty good Sim City going down. We have 1 sunken here, another one going to be on the way. Some Hydras in that back row as well. Starts to run up with those Zealots, and you can see like the Sim City very, very strong. Archons do not do well against blocks, walls, Sim Cities, Hydras. Like, they're killers against Lings and Mutas, but that's really not what's happening. So I think Best here sees that he's been slightly duped twice now. Didn't think there was Mutas, and then thought there would be more Mutas, that type of thing. Now, going after the High Templar does get a pick there, so that's really, really nice. So far, that's 5 High Templars that are not going to be storming, right? The 1 he killed and the 4 that were made into these 2 Archons. So right now I'm looking at this, and I do like how Sacsri has played it so far. Best is actually only on 6 gates. So he's either going to have to add a couple more gates or make that third Nexus pretty quickly. Now, here comes the massive Hydras, and you're going to see these Archons pop so quickly. You can see they're really not making much of a difference. The Corsair is getting a little bit of damage done here, but really the Zealot's being eaten alive by this massive Hydras from Sacsri. So right now, Best on his back foot. He does have Psystorm done, but as you can see, only 2 High Templar. Right? This is a big problem for him. He's going to have to sit behind his wall, which is not what you want to do right now. Now, that being said, it is 2 base versus 3 base. So, like, it's still a playable position here for Best, but certainly a lot harder than it could have been otherwise if he had maybe read the situation better or even, you know, gambled towards the situation better. More High Templars coming out. The Corsair is still running around and trying to get some kills. We have a Spore even set up there for Sacsri. He's got like a very large group of Overlords here. I actually didn't notice if he got drops or not. When you bring this many, it's not generally detection. Generally, that's going to end up being drops. But it could also be a fake, right? Sometimes fake drops can be a very strong way to play. 1-1 upgrades are done for Best with just +1 for Sacsri here. Best just continually producing Zealots. He does have range on the way, and a Robo started now, which is good because Lurker's already coming up. Now look at this. Some Psystorms going down. That was a huge Psystorm. Very powerful from Best. He's hurt these Hydras a lot. Killed quite a few. Less than 2 groups now trying to run home. The Zealot's definitely strong enough to beat these if they turn and fight. But with more reinforcements coming up, he should be able to do a pretty good job. You can see he's morphing that front line to screw up the AI there with those Lurker eggs, right? Like the attack priority goes way down, the armor goes way up, and the Zealots like basically don't want to deal with that. So he is going to run around with these Zealots. Looking back at the base, you can see he's gone up to 7 gates now. Still not the full 8 that you can support, but obviously he lost 1 at the front door. And he is going into more heavy Dragoon production, so I think it's going to be completely fine. Forces a cancel on that 4th. That's actually a really important moment. That is an important thing in this game. Like, you cannot let him get a 4th up when you're on 2 base. That is just not how it works. Like, you know, there's certain, like, levels, right? 4 base Zerg against 3 base Protoss, no problem. Like, and then once Protoss gets to 4 base, they're kind of good. It's kind of similar to Terran versus Protoss, where it's like, yeah, you want to kind of try to stay within a base, and once you have 4, your cost efficiency goes really, really up. So anyways, right now these Zealots do get caught. Sacsri does a good job flanking them between the ramp and pushing them back down that hole, so the Zealots are killed off, and now the supply is actually slightly Sacsri favored with the same worker count. So not looking super hot for Best, but he does have some High Templars here. It looks like he's going to move to his high ground. I think he has to stay on his high ground. I don't think there's any potential for an attack right now. A defensive Hydra Lurker setup would absolutely murder this army. The best I think he can do is try to grind down anything that comes onto his high ground. I think that is absolutely the best way to play it. Now, Sacsri is going to try to come up. Burrows a bunch of these Lurkers. Some good Psystorms end up going down. Has to make the double Archon, and Sacsri is just punishing so hard right now. Crushing through. These Dragoons going to be picked off. He backs up. The 3rd Nexus is on the way. That is not working out for him, though. He has his Corsairs across the map. I don't think they're going to find enough damage. And GG is going to be called. Sacsri takes down Best with a beautiful mind game, actually. The couple of Hydras there, and then going into the Mutas. And then, you know, when he had the Mutas and forced Best back and had already killed a Corsair, Best really acted as if it was like a continued Muta production. And then when he made those Archons, I feel like that's where Sacsri got the huge edge that led to this. So anyways, Sacsri looks like he wants to kill all the buildings for some reason. Not sure about that. But guys, thanks for watching. Hope that you enjoyed. And see you next time.